Forge. Gang. I'm still a hard man. Let's go. I am your host, Imperator of Forge, also known as Forge Warhammer. And it is very dark. As you can see, the lights are off. It is the middle of the night. I just wanted to go over very quickly about how Kraut and Tea, Drunken Surfer, and King of Pole lost out on probably some of the greatest opportunity to make very good, steady income. So, I'm going to start with Kraut and Tea. Kraut and Tea, I think, got off to a pretty rough start, but he was very successful. He was particularly successful in 2016, and he got up to, I think, like 3 million subs on YouTube. Now, I don't think that Kraut and Tea ever did super chats. He just uploaded. I don't think that Kraut streamed. But Kraut had the opportunity, working with some other people in what was then the beginnings of the alt-right. Not quite the alt-right as such, but the beginnings of it. And he could have made money from that. He would have been very successful, but instead, he decided to argue with Ryan Falk or Fringe Elements and some other race realists, because he was attacking the left and he was doing really good with the far left and the social justice warriors or the woke, but he decided to attack the race realists, and he lost badly in an intellectual debate with J.P. Garay. Yeah, J.P. Garay and Ryan Falk. And then he tried to get a bunch of these people to come on to talk about selection, RK selection, and why it is that somehow race doesn't work because of human case selection. And then he tried to set up a Discord to dox a bunch of people, and it backfired badly on him. I think Adin Paladin did some covered about it, and so did Surgon. And Kraut was humiliated by that. And within just a couple of years, he was only at 500k subs. So Kraut is a failure. If you really consider about it, Kraut and Tea is a failure. Now, let's move on to King of Pole. King of Pole I wouldn't regard King of Pole as a total failure, but he had the chance of a lifetime. King of Pole could have co-hosted with several figures, not just Mr. Medicare, although I would figure that Mr. Medicare, and he co-hosted. King of Pole did co-host with Mr. Medicare back in 2014. And from what I understand, he did pretty well. And this is before he started to he got his name stuck in with all the gay stuff and the LARPing stuff. But had King of Pole stuck with it in 2014, and co-hosted with Medicare and other people, or even just did streams himself, think about how much money King of Pole would be making right now. Think of where King of Pole would be, because Medicare makes about 2.5K a month doing streams. And King of Pole could have easily done that. He could have easily done that in 2014. But instead, he threw it out. He threw everything out the window. He could have co-hosted with Sergon of Akkad and Medicare. And right now, had he pulled the right moves, King of Pole could be on the Lotus Eaters stream or the Lotus Eaters podcast right now, making thousands of dollars. Or he could be co-hosting with Medicare, shouting Sweetie Squad and making $2,500 a month or so. At one point, Medicare was like making $30,000 per stream or $30,000 a month. Brian, King of Pole, could have gotten half of that, which means he would have been making $15,000 a month by now, or at least in the better years around before the COVID-19 stuff happened. But no, he blew it. He blew it big time in 2014, and look where it got him. You know, asking men for outlines of private parts, asking for outlines, Medicare exposing him on that, getting into a bunch of gay drama, getting outed as a weirdo and a freak, and becoming a laughingstock. Brian Dunn is an absolute laughingstock. Ethan Ralph might not be the most commendable or compassionate or clean person, and he's got dirty hands, but Ethan Ralph still makes money. Ethan Ralph has found a way to turn his shortcomings into some sort of success, even though he's a bit of a pillhead. Or alcoholic. I won't go in any further into the details, but King of Pole could have done that, and he blew it. King of Pole's story is actually pretty tragic. 11 years or 12 years of a downward spiral where he could have made $2,500 a month, if not even more. Possibly more. And instead, now his channel is like 2,000 to 3,000 subs at most. Maybe he gets about 20 viewers, whereas Mr. Medicare gets like 200 or 10,000 viewers on a stream. And that's, where he's fighting cancer and probably streaming once every 6 months. In his better years, Medicare was probably doing better, much better than that. And Brian Dunn just gets maybe 20 to 50 viewers a stream, and he plays with Digimon cards and argues with regards on Discord, and Impressa records it. And King of Pole could have made $2,000 to $5,000, and he blew it big time. He had the opportunity of a lifetime that I will never have, and he blew it. He blew it with gay, pedo, and weird crap. Anyways, next, I'll talk about Surfer. Now, Surfer doesn't really have a lot of talent. He can cook, and he can do a lot of, normie stuff, but he isn't really talented at really making high-quality content, right? But Surfer was with the big boys. Surfer at one point was with the big boys, and he was living with PPP. And right now, the Kino Casino makes about $5,000 a month. I'll say it again. Kino Casino with Andy Worski and PPP makes $5,000 a month. That is quite a bit of money. It's not going to get you a yacht. It's not going to get you a private yacht. It's not going to, but you could do things. That's good money. If you could save up on that sort of money, you could buy a house and a very nice car You wouldn't be a millionaire, but that's still good money. That's better than money than minimum wage. I'll tell you that right now. And Surfer had that opportunity. Now, I still think that PPP would have co-hosted with Andy Worski, and I know about him trying to get a underage minor in 2018 to date him, and Joshua Moon tried to cover that up in red text on Kiwi Farms and is trying to hide that. I know that. I know about the abortion song. I know about the stuff about Andy Worski trying to look for underage minors to date. I'm not ignorant about that. But regardless, even though PPP would have still co-hosted with, say, Andy Worski or someone high, in that regard, like Josh Connor Moon, Surfer could have still come on and made good money. Surfer had the opportunity. It might not have been as much of a chance as with Kraut and T or King of Pole, but Surfer had an opportunity to go on the Keno Casino and at least make some money. He could have very easily gotten perhaps $500, maybe $200. PPP might have paid him several hundred to go on or something, maybe 200. That's still good money. It's not $5,000 a month, but it's still good money. And Surfer would have had an interesting reputation in the sector. Drunken Surfer could have done some cooking stuff. Andy Worski and PPP could have covered some cooking with Surfer streams that PPP did. But Surfer blew it. He blew that opportunity, and he got into fights, and he was very stiff-necked and had a very loose temper and called the police on PPP, which is very sus, and Surfer blew it. So Surfer is stuck in this microcosm, basically selling burgers to DoorDash, giving burgers to DoorDash and living on minimum wage, or doing like DoorDash, Uber Eats, or working at a restaurant, with perhaps a reasonably fair income or something, but that is nothing had he done better and tried to improve himself. That was a good opportunity to make something of his name in the sector, and he blew it. He blew it with PPP, and then he blew it with Ethan Ralph on the kill stream, and then he blew it with Godwinson and Perspicacity. And even though Perspicacity probably would not have made much of anything out of his streams, had Surfer really tried hard with Perspicacity, they could have probably gotten a fairly good thing going. They could have made money from it. It's hard to tell where it would be, but think about it. Medicare gets $2.5K a month. He was probably doing much better in his better years before COVID-19, and him doing, talking to VTubers and stuff, which people are not really interested in the VTuber stuff. But King of Pole could have cashed into that cash cow, and he blew it. And where is King of Pole now? Surfer could have bought into that cash cow of the Keno Casino, and he blew it big time. He even blew it with Ethan Ralph on the kill stream. So, what is the moral of this story, chat? What is the moral of where I'm getting at? Try to control your emotions and try to look for better horizons. Always dream big. Dream big and never think that you can't change your fortunes, or that you can't do things or work with people who are talented to be successful. Because unfortunately, most of the people that I've seen in this part of the internet are failures. Like, Drunken Surfer is a failure. King of Pole is most definitely a failure. And Kraut and T is a failure. He's not as big of a failure as the other two, but he is a failure. These men are failures. You know, Kraut and T could have been on the Lotus Eaters podcast had things gone differently. But he's a failure. Adin Paladin is a failure. All of these men in this side of the sector are major failures. All right, so yeah, that's where I wanted to get at. Let's see here. Bruce says King of Pol could have been Sargon of Akkad's co-host if he just bought a suit. Yeah, I mean, exactly. It's not that expensive to buy a suit and tie. If I knew tomorrow that I could really blow my channel up and be successful, I would buy a suit and tie. Absolutely. You know, just looking spiffy and looking the part and acting the part is enough sometimes to convince people. King of Pol couldn't even do that. Lara Bonifacio says, hi, Laura. Laura said hi. Bruce says King of Pol used to do shows with Sargon exposing leftist activism in universities in 2014. Yeah, so look at that. 2014. Look at where King of Pol was at back then. Look at what he was doing and compare it to where he's at now. He's not even doing stuff on his own channel. Instead, he's arguing with regards, and Impressa clips them and puts them on her channel. Impressa is taking his talent, or what is left of it, and is taking it and putting it on their channel, and it's not benefiting King of Pol any bit for Impressa to clip him arguing with regards online, and they're the ones getting credit for all of it. You know, my, how the mighty fall. The Great says, Forge Gang! Hey, what's up, The Great? Bruce says that Surfer streamed. Oh, The Great says, hey, Bruce, you missed Surfer. And Bruce says Surfer streamed. Yeah, Bruce, Surfer streamed. Well, actually, he's still streaming. He did a cooking with Surfer Greek food with avocado. He's fallen asleep now, and he's having a big hangover. Interdimensional Lizard says, Bri is a hard-working family man. No, Bri is a cringe lord and a failure, Interdimensional Lizard. Coach Red Pill basically dropped the ball on King of Pol. Have you ever watched the one time that Coach Red Pill talked to King of Pol? Like, Coach Red Pill basically dropped the ball on that guy. No, King of Pol argues with regards in Discord, and Impressa clips it and takes all the credit for the time that he wastes arguing with regards. Mr. Monkey says, talk shit about Israel. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Bruce says that Brian is able to mess around on Discord 8 hours a day while getting paid by his job without getting fired. That sounds like winning to me, TBH. Well, maybe so. I don't understand what his job is then. Is he like a Uber Eats or a, what is he, Uber Eats driver? Yeah, what does he do then? Does he like do delivery or something? Because I heard him say that he works on the road or something, or he does like signaling on the road. I've seen him wear like a yellow vest and stuff. But I don't see how arguing with the Dark Ninja 8 hours in Discord is winning. I don't see how arguing with someone like the Dark Ninja for 8 hours a day on Discord is winning. Compare that to Sargon and the Lotus Eaters podcast. I would say that Sargon of Akkad has invested better with his time. I don't care how cucked supposedly Sargon is or all of that. He's definitely making much better money than King of Pol is. So I would say that King of Pol is a loser and a failure. Bruce shows a laughing cringe face emoji. Bruce says he does some kind of infrastructure stuff, just drives around checking things. Okay, so he's kind of like an overseer then, so that's good money then. If he's an overseer of like road work, then I think that's pretty decent. Interdimensional Lizard said, I think he's a road line marker. Well, those guys get paid reasonably well. Certainly above minimum wage, but that's still nothing compared to $2.5K a month. The Great says, Bri makes sure the streets are clean. Well, dude, while he's basically cleaning out the toilets on the road and stuff, and arguing with regards on Discord, Mr. Medicare makes $2.5K a month. Let's see here. Bruce says, how funny would it be for KOP to do an in-person episode with Sergon on the Lotus Eaters? That's my point, Bruce. Had Brian played it smart, had he been patient and not threw around his temper, asked men for outlines of their private parts, and wasted his time and his life doing cringe shit, he could have done that. That could have been his life. And he would have been paid to go on the Lotus Eaters podcast. They would have paid him for that. So he's a failure of a man. He's a failure of a man. Axel makes $3K per month just from Norwegian neat bucks. Wow, if that is actually true, that's reasonably good. I heard that Axel got his channel nuked or something. Or his channel got nuked. Axel could appeal, or he could make an appeal to Team YouTube about that. I don't think he will, but yeah. I will tell you that you are judged by the company that you keep. You are judged by the company that you associate with and that you keep. And right now, I am with a bunch of failures, beta males, closeted gays, and troons. And obviously, that's why I haven't been too successful. I need to sharpen my horizons and work on really getting with the winning team. You want to be with the winning team. You don't want to be with the losers. And unfortunately, I'm with the losers. You know, I can't even get a decent, thread on me. You know, Axel and Shaggy have been stream sniped by Ghost Politics. And Ghost Politics, I think he lies about his earnings, but he gets 30 or 40 or 100 something viewers on his streams on Kick. And he was stream sniping Axel. That might actually be why Axel's channel got banned. Because of that. But Ghost Politics gets 100 viewers or 300 viewers, and he stream sniped Axel because he has the Council or the Lords of Darkness has a Kiwi Farms thread that is got the content on it. And all I get is these regards like the Penguin Man who can't even pass 300 subs, and nobody watches his videos, and it's just no tint. No Kent. And then I get an Onion Farms thread by this fucking regard idiot, the Dark Didla, and there's nothing there, and that's just my lot in life, and it does rather suck. It does rather suck that all I get to have of all my effort is just an Onion Farms thread that's really nothing there. And the mod from Onion Farms that I talked to in Discord, who takes care of running that, He said that I was right, that there's really nothing on that Onion Farms thread. Like, there's nothing there. It's like, I have the worst A logs. Like, I gotta get some better A logs. So Bruce says, oh, damn, you're right, down due to community guidelines. Well, Axel and I heard that Shaggy got a strike too. Axel and Shaggy could appeal for that to be undone. Esoteric Archivism says, all the pretty little ponies. Oh, yeah, because Alistair Mycroft was on a brony dating site. He says that someone from Adin Paladin's Discord server made that, and that's not him. That is him. That is Alistair Mycroft. Alistair Mycroft did go on a brony dating site to try to ask out, like, some people. Bruce says, Maze, it appears that all evidence of me LARPing as a pony have been erased from the internet. What a shame. The Great says, the issue with your disability prevents you from realizing this. So like most cows, like Shaggy, you see yourself as full of potential. Esoteric says, lol, Blossom. Yeah. So I will never have the kind of opportunities that Kraut and T or Drunken Serpent or King of Lols will ever have. But yet, I think if I put the effort and the work into it, I could probably turn this into an income-producing content machine. It's going to take some time and effort, but I am going to learn from the mistakes of these. I would encourage you in the chat to do. Don't be like these failures. Take your time. Learn to manage your time wisely. Learn to be productive and learn how to take your talents and turn it into something that is actually contributive to society at large. Okay, it doesn't take that much effort, and you don't have to be a genius or have a natural inborn talent to be successful. All you got to do is just be yourself. Okay? Just be yourself. And don't ask other men in a Discord call for outlines of their private parts. That's all.